It's kind of a quick little catch-up video talking about a little philosophy of use idea that I discovered recently. Not even discovered, it's kind of a catch-up on lights, addressing a few issues that we have. It may seem like I've been on a kind of a flashlight kick in the last few months. Since probably November 2019, I've been in the midst of reassessing my lighting situation and swapping out some of the stuff that I had before, moving it forward. For the longest time, my carry light system was pretty much unchanged. I had been using stuff like the standard Streamlight, Stylus Pro, which I used to have one in red. And I remember this kid had like chewed on the thing. It was the weirdest thing. He was like, "Oh, it's red, it's shiny," and I didn't want to be an ass, so oh yeah, let him play with it. And I was like, "Careful, it's metal." And immediately, the kid was like 5 or 6 years old too, picks it up and starts chewing on the metal, and then he's like, "Ow!" I'm like, "Well, no shit, dummy, you're chewing on metal," and bit the rubber tip and pulled it right off. So I've had like this bare clicker stylus. The stylus is a fine light these days. It's probably more a relic than you would maybe want to admit. The weight in comparison to the performance is lagging further and further behind when you have stuff like the more modern incarnation, like this Olight. This is a single cell AAA. What is this, the i3T? It puts out pretty comparable quantities. Yeah, pretty good. As far as weight goes, a nice, not this one, this is the brass one, so of course it weighs a ton. But things have come a long way. So this kind of is all in what I'm talking about. Sometimes we forget that certain industries move faster than others. And so in my reassessment, I knew, well, things are getting better. They're performing better. They're going to have longer battery life. I'll just keep putting it out. So I kept kind of waiting for the technology to catch up to the point where I wanted to get into it again. And I know, if someone's looking at these, I just happened to grab the eggs from the hens today and brought them inside. I found this bird nest sitting on the floor from some of the, I think, sparrows or something, and it kind of made a convenient holder, and I had it on the desk to show my mom, and forgot. It's just decoration now, so don't think that my hens are laying in this kind of bird's nest. They don't, but it is photogenic. Look at that. And look at the size of this damn egg, dude. I'm pretty sure one of my neighbor's fighting roosters came over and started knocking up my hens. So now they're putting out like these velociraptor eggs. It's pretty cool. All right, okay, so capabilities. So I was having this conversation with him about lights, and kind of right off the bat, I showed him mine, and I apologize for showing this light off so much. It literally is probably my favorite EDC light that I've had in a long time. I honestly can't. It feels like it's titanium. The weight kind of makes me think it's not, but this is like the friendship booster thing. So if you know Olight, when they do the nice sales, especially around the holidays, they have tiers. So if you pay like $150, they'll give you a little i3T. And generally it'll be like maybe a blacklight one. It's got a splatter color. Like this one, this brass one, I got for free because I had ordered 2 of the Perons at the same time. So it's a cool little system. This was one that Nut and Fancy got in, I think, November 20. It's got the Friendship 2020. Very cool. And they engrave your name on it and everything. And so now I have his name on my damn light till the end of time. It doesn't really matter to me, but pretty funny. It's a great light. I'm pretty sure it's a Baton Pro, so it's the same as the little S2R. It's like that body with a bigger emitter on top. It's really good. So I showed this to this kid, and he was like, "Nah, I don't like Olights." I was like, I mean, I get it, because I hear it a lot. I hear, "Ooh, I don't like Olight." But the reasoning was different for him. What you normally hear when people say, "Ew, Olight," it's because it's a Chinese-made knife, or a light. I don't fault guys for it. I feel the same way, and I would buy a lot more American if I could afford it. Where I am right now, I can't. When I can get a lot of performance, I can get all of this. I could get these for the cost of like half of this. It's a pretty obvious thing to me. I like Surefire. I want to get more. You'll see more as time goes on. It's just something that keeps falling down my list and ranking. These ones, especially, the Surefire stuff that I have on hand, it's not in our main testing equipment, is hopelessly old. This is probably like a 15, maybe 18-year-old light. Same with this one. This actually, what made me film this is checking this out off of my M16A4 clone. This was the weapon light on it, and I turned it on and started paying attention, kind of with a critical eye. I was like, oh, this light is old. But it was kind of a clone, so it's clone correct, it's accurate. I was like, it's pretty cool, but, oof, man, the performance on that sucks ass when you compare, even against something like this. Things have come so far in such a short time in comparison, and the light sphere really has gone light years in comparison to everything else. Gun-wise, I could pick up a Glock that was built in the early 90s, and it's going to be functionally pretty much the same as a Gen 5 that came off the production line this year. So it's easy to kind of look at the field and go, well, I already have my lights. I have my system squared. Like this. This has been kind of older and older, an LD20 Phoenix. This is a AA light, and this one I Cerakote. You can tell where I taped off the stuff to be able to tell what model it was. Still a fine light. Not too powerful, but, double A's. I have found that the, AA, AAA, normal batteries, unless you're using higher output lithium ones, they just don't seem to have that long of life. They're not really high output, purpose-built lights. But the upside is that they're really easy to feed, and if you have a bunch of rechargeable, like now you can get lithium rechargeables, and they work pretty well. You can feed them reliably. This, for a long time, was my EDC standard light. It was a little bit bigger than maybe you would prefer. I think a lot of times if I didn't have the stylus, I had this, or let me dig a little bit. Where are you? Go. Another Phoenix. This one was the PD20. And this one is the little CR123. Also Cerakoted by me, because whenever I do a Cerakote run, I try to do as much stuff as possible. And this is one of my rechargeables. Rechargeables have been kind of spotty for me. I burned out a lamp and this Surefire with them. The incandescent ones, I had forgotten. It's one of those things that when you open it and read the manual, you're like, of course, no rechargeables. And then you forget when you want to cheap out because you go, holy crap, this thing's eating through a lot of expensive batteries. So, yeah, that's a whole... I'm going to be doing some LED conversions for both this one and the E2D. And I'm going to get better ones. I'm going to bite the bullet and do Malkoff, because I got this, random no-name one, and it didn't work at all. And it completely sucks ass. And it didn't even fit. Instantly, the spring came off, and then... By the time I even noticed, it was one of those things I threw in an order, and then a month and a half later go, oh, crap, I need to return that. That was broken out of the box. I missed the return window. So... moral of the story, if you're going to do lights, maybe get a known LED retrofit thing. I know for anything that uses pretty sure it's the P60 bulb, it's like a standard fitment. It's pretty easy to swap out, but I think this was literally $11. It's like eBay or Amazon or something, so whatever. Learned from my stupidity. What was I talking about? I was talking about Surefires. So the evolution. So I did this year. After changing them out, I've gone towards the Perrin for my normal EDC stuff. The 21700 is my new favorite battery cell. You can even see one of these. Very cool. So I might be repeating myself, and you can tell I took this off of something. So this is off of Perrin number 1. And one of the downsides of Olight stuff I found, they all kind of have their own orientation. And it seems really simple. You go, well, duh, just remember which way it goes. I've had to make a little document to remind myself what goes where and how, because so many times it's completely inverted from what you think. Like the Perrin is different from the Seeker, I'm pretty sure. Let's pop these out. Let's see, I bet you I even have it in there. And like this one, when I changed this battery out the other day, I had it inverted, and I kept thinking, I got it right? Did this thing die? Yeah. Seeker, 2020. So, there you go. Negative goes forward. Head that direction. Positive in the back. Cool. So, capability's gotten better. If you're kind of looking to upgrade, just kind of pick your form factor that you want to hunt. Because, honestly, the S2R is an awesome pick. The little bit bigger like this, for a while I've carried M2Rs. I carried nothing's FDE one for a while, trying to put wear on it to make it look cooler. It is really big, and the amount of throw you have on it, unless you're out in the field and you really want range, not really necessary. But it's hard to pick something as reliably good for your everyman as the S2R series from Olight. And I know when people complain about Olight, they sometimes call them the Apple of flashlights because they are kind of markety. And I guess I might as well. When I talked to this kid about his light, this is all kind of a mix. Keep in mind, this is just freewheeling. When we talk about it, he pulled his out, and it was some bizarro brand I'd never heard of. You know, it's not unusual. There are 10,000 brands, and a lot of times they're going to be no-namers that I've never seen before in my entire life, like this one. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And, like, this is a good example. I wanted to try out the elbow form factor and see if I liked it or not, but before I went and dropped, like, $100 on a Perun or, what's that one? The Nightcore ND10. That's a good one, too. Nothing's got a couple of those I keep trying to steal from him. I wanted to try it out and cheap to see if I liked it before I started going all in. So I bought this. This was like $23 at the time. And this is a good example of kind of the wide field of ripoff / homage / no names that you find on there. And you could tell, like, the quality on this band is quite bad. You know, it's just a little piece of injected plastic that's not going to hold up all that well. I'm sure after enough stresses, it's just going to crack right off, and then you're stuck trying to zip tie stuff on. You know, you can tell the finish there, just from rotating around, has been scratched pretty bad for not even all that much use. This one has a Type-C, USB Type-C charge port in the back. That's kind of a thing that you see a lot, charging on the light, and honestly, I don't really care all that much about it. When I'm talking about bizarro brands, it's in one ear and out the other, because so often I've found them and they're a flash in the pan. I kind of wonder, is it for all these imported lights that come over, is it because Chinese manufacturers don't know to use the same listing? Like this one, I paid $24. It was in there. I was going to recommend it to someone. Oh, that's cool. That's really affordable. Yeah, send me the link for it. I look it up and it says product unavailable. I'm like, well, that's weird. Why, you wouldn't restock? And then, hey, look at that, recommended. It's another one just like it, granted, slightly different name. It's going to be like Huang Du Ye. You're like, oh, okay, so it's the same kit, slightly different. Is it just like someone going, hey, I want to buy 10,000 of these lights. Here, let's put a bizarro brand name on it. Let's start selling them. Once that runs out, they're like, whatever. We'll just start all over. Is it a different guy? Is it the same company? All these questions I would love to have answered. I'll never find out. It's just interesting to me. But that's why when this kid pulls out some bizarro light that's got like a bunch of ridges, and it was pretty gnarly, where it's got like, it was pretty stout. It was probably like this, had tons of little heat sinks all over it. It just looked like a huge pocket lint trap to me, but it was cool when it's clean. And he had his, and he said, oh yeah, this is whatever brand. I hate Olight because the color accuracy is so poor. And I kind of sat there for a second, thought, color accuracy? Huh. I was so out of it. I've been so kind of starstruck at the perfect increases in capability. I never really noticed that there were still things lacking. You know, when you compare this, like an old Surefire M951, I'm pretty sure, you know, this thing's 65 lumens. 65 freaking lumens? Are you, like, that's a joke in comparison to today's stuff. So mentally, I'm still thinking about this as my baseline. So when I get something like this, you know, this, I get maybe like 20 yards of distance being able to pick something out. And it's just I'll insert some footage I just took in the field out there. You get this tiny little cone. You know, it's pretty weak. It's not effective. You're stuck burning through batteries for this stuff. And then mentally I'm going, well, dude, look at this. I can see out like 100 yards with that. It's got a great throw. The battery lasts a ton longer than the older one. So much improvement there, and it didn't snap to me that, oh crap, you know, I could actually be able to tell colors apart too. Because when you use these at night, sure enough, when you start looking for it, it's like, oh, what's the brown wire? What's the blue wire? And once you see it, it'll start ruining some of these lights for you too, because then you go, yeah, it would be nice to be able to see accurate colors. And so that was his getup. And when I checked his out, you know, we took it over into it like some of the darker things, turned off the lights. Oh, cool. Yeah, you can tell the difference. These are really kind of bright and white and kind of sterile. And, to me, it's not the biggest deal on earth. I'm not going to change all these out for more color accurate lights, but it got me thinking. It got my noggin a jogging about the fundamental assumptions of performance that we all kind of take sometimes. You see it in a lot of things too. People will start, they grow in the phase in which they grew up and came of age, kind of sets their expectations for what they like and what they assume and what they enjoy. It's why you still have Gen Xers that'll still listen to punk and wear cargo shorts and like Vans skater shoes. And it's why, like, I still love the Type R automobiles. I love the Integra Type R. It's like literally one of my dream cars. I love that entire thing. And there's this romantic aspect of them that will never separate itself. And no, I don't count the newer one. Newer Type Rs are not that fun because they're not light. They're not hand welded in some shop by like a 92-year-old independent contractor paid by Honda. The seats are, they're all massagey and meant for obese Americans. Not what it used to be. But the romance of that era is always going to be with me. Why? Well, probably because it's what I wanted as a teenager. It was my dream car back then, and it's there. That part is wormed into my brain, and it's probably not going to leave. You see it with older guys. You see it with the baby boomers and how they love, the Pontiac GTO Judge. That's probably my favorite muscle car in bright orange. Stuff like that sticks with you for a while. And I feel like even for normal dudes, we still are mentally kind of hearkening back to this era, or even to the Executive Defender era. We're thinking, well, yeah, it uses CR123s and it burns through them at a pretty terrifying pace. But hey, it's a tactical light and it's got the scallops on it, man. It's got scallops. So when you fight, you're able to jam the scallops in your attacker and twist and you'll take out a chunk of flesh. I don't know why. I remember when that started coming out on everything, everyone was losing their minds at how cool it was. Dude, it's a martial weapon and a flashlight. For newer people, I definitely get why, like, this kid, he's young. He didn't really have a tactical onboarding. He didn't have like a dad that was, oh yeah, check this out, kiddo. How awesome is this? He's getting into it fresh. So he was able to assess the field with different eyes. I say that assessing. In all likelihood, he probably went on to like a Reddit or something and then read about whatever unknown, underground, no-name brand is out there that provides stuff. And this is something, we touched on this in, I want to say, the Seeker review a while back, because looking through Olight stuff, I kind of noticed that they don't brag about the particulars of their lights. They don't talk about like what's the LED, who makes the LED, what kind of color temperature is it. They're very sparse in what they tell you. And I think that comes down to the Apple of flashlights. It's not meant for your hardcore, nerdy, obsessive Aspergian user. It's not for the guy that's sitting there comparing color temps or who's talking about, well, this color temperature, if it's 4800K or whatever measurement they use, it actually scares away mosquitoes because they can't see in that light spectrum, and it keeps you safe from dengue and malaria. Like, well, it's more for the guy that just, I want a good functional light. I want it to look pretty. I want the user interface to be simple and easily manipulated. I want to be able to throw it to someone and have them figure out how to use it within 5 seconds. And I want battery maintenance to be super easy. And that's exactly what you get with these. You even like the magnetic bottom. Oh, look at that. I even had a free CR123 or whatever it is, 2032, 2012 floating around there. They're really simple. And the charging form is pretty awesome. You get these things. You get like a USB cable and you can charge it right on the light, which is pretty simple. And that's one of the things that people complain about with them, actually. They'll say, well, I don't like Olight's proprietary batteries. I don't like having to buy expensive cells just for them. And when he told me that, did I draw on this? Oh, I haven't drawn on this one yet. This one, 5,000 milliamp, 21700. I have noticed a lot of the lights that I have from Olight really do have pretty good outputs. I mean, as far as battery quality goes, they're all pretty awesome, and they should be for the price they are. You're kind of overpraying for that consistency. You want a consistent user experience. You want the quality. You want the cuteness and the friendliness. You want the style, just like a MacBook. MacBooks don't really have all that great of cooling. They tend to roast your testicles if you're hard use, sitting them down on your lap. But they look pretty. They have a certain premium cachet that non-computer people look at and admire, and I think Olight's really in that same thing. And I will admit I'm a total sucker for them because I love their marketing. You know, they having like this funky coloration. Could you ever imagine Surefire doing that? Do you think Surefire would be like, hey, let's do a bright orange variation this time? Never see that. Meanwhile, Olight has their finger right on the pulse. Every month they're sending out another thing. Hey guys, this is our new coloration. We're doing this in orange. We're doing it in red, white, and blue. Or like the really cool, I came super close to buying that Warrior a while back. They had one in like a seafoam camouflage. It was like blues and white. It was really cool looking, like a spackle. That kind of thing is brilliant. Because none of us need this many. Who needs like 14 lights? And most guys that are flashaholics, they're going to have a whole bank, and you see it on a shelf, and they have like 14 of each different type. Oh, this is my big one. This is my hard use. They're set up for everything under the sun they're ready for. Whereas your normie, he probably has maybe 2 lights, if that. You know, he's got like 2 pocket knives. You know, he doesn't really have a lot of anything because he's not an enthusiast. Why does he care? You know, he gets one tactical carbine, he's good to go. You know, I know one guy, he's got one, it's like a Energizer brand light. It's like an LED one, pretty big. You know, it's a fine light for what he's using it for. And I've tried to kind of turn him on to other lights, like, hey, check this out, you know, and maybe try and give him a pocket knife here and there. And he likes the ones that work for him, and he doesn't want to have to think about them. I think that's really where Olight shines. You are going to make a few trade-offs with it. It is going to be more expensive. The upside of that is maybe it has better resale. The UI form, I love. In the footage you're seeing, I took out some of these other ones that I've had sitting in my bin just to kind of compare and show how far we've come. Dude, you know, having to relearn it and go, okay, how many presses is it? Long press, short press, short. They always have some stupid SOS mode. You know, like this one, I was trying to do, oh, let me see if it has higher, lower mode. Nope, couldn't get it. The only thing it kept doing was SOS or some weird blinking thing. I hate that. I wish they got rid of it altogether. It's just not worth the 1 in 1 million chance I would need to use SOS is not worth the amount of irritation I experience trying to put something into high mode and having to deal with it. So whatever. So this was for a long time, my main headlamp system. If I needed some higher output than the little Coast, I'd be using something like this. And the battery things. When people talk about Olight batteries, and they rightfully so, you complain about the ones 18650 here. I've just been using all the stuff out of my bank, and I don't really use the charging system for these. I know I should, and Olight says, only use our approved batteries. I had forgotten all about that. And talking with him, and he's like, yeah, but you got to use their batteries, and you have to charge it on their setup. I was like, do you? Well, I guess we're in experimental territory because I've been using Nightcore batteries and all my stuff just because I swap them out. You know, the USB is cool, but like if I'm using this in the aircraft and the cockpit and it dies, I need that light up. You know, I'm not going to sit here if I can even run the light with the USB charger. Like what? I have it hooked up to the dashboard and running up my lap. I have it magnetically stuck onto here. Not going to happen. Not worth the trouble for me. So instead, I'll just change out a battery. You know, I'll bring a couple of these. I'll bring this little thing, go, okay, it's out, swap, boom, done. And that's what I've been doing to my carry light forever. And for the longest time, I was just using my night course. Didn't even notice the difference. I do notice that the battery life is different with them. They're inferior. But, you know, that kind of comes down to Olight's... I'm not going to pretend that by their nature, they somehow crammed more power into it. Like, let's see what the power rating is on this one. This is an 18650. It's an Olight one, and that's a Nightcore one. So 2300 milliamps to 2600. Keep in mind, this one's probably 3 or 4 years old, maybe. So not the newest. And I've kind of noticed these all increase, like the 21s. I've gotten a couple that are like this, 4,000. I'm pretty sure the Seekers is like 5,000. So I think they kind of creep up over time. I'm not sure if they're actually improving or if it's just a matter of manufacturer badging. And I know someone's going to say, well, they're all made in the same place. I think that's a lot more likely than we like to suppose. And, you know, it is what it is. Hopefully you get a good brand and you know what it is. And you can, if you're nerdy enough and you want to undercut these, I'm sure you could probably go on like AliExpress and start finding them and get them sourced privately. They just won't have the same wrapper, and you won't be able to go, hey, look, it's the exact same thing. It's no different. but it's some ways around it. I'm kind of surprised, too, at the amount of batteries you're seeing around. Like my laptop battery, when I took it apart, it was just like 3 of these stacked end to end. And I'm pretty sure Tesla's, that's part of the reason these are so cheap now. I think Tesla power banks are literally like just hundreds of these wired up in blocks. I mean, it's super cool. Brings costs down. That's why it's so affordable for us to start using these, better lighting accoutrements. Because before, you didn't see this kind of developmental pace. For the longest time, you didn't see stuff go from, well, yeah, right now we have this is the Mac. The Mac's is AA's. And then suddenly, well, actually, now it's a C battery. Now you got to use these high-powered D lithium. No, we went straight from, well, AA's. They kept improving in performance. Next thing you know, hey, look at that. We had CR123s. That was pretty cool. And for a while, those were like boutique weirdo things. You didn't see those floating around all that much. All of a sudden, hey, look at that. You can even get a bigger version. You get 17 650s. Like, that's what the Executive Defender uses. And just it's kind of surprising. In the last 4 years, we've gotten such increases in the battery life department that we've been able to see higher output and better throw. All these things kind of cascading at once to the point where now we can be picky enough. We have the luxury of caring about the shades of color we see under the light. So I don't know. I don't know if I really have shown this all that much. This is kind of what made me film this, because it made me laugh when I pulled this off my M16A4 clone. It's clone accurate. And yeah, you actually have this thing that I dropped and cracked because everyone and their dog seems to have broken these. I got this whole setup used a few years back just to match the thing, because at the time I wanted the clone accurate light. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Look at that. That's so cool. Oh, cool. You can even see. Look at that. Infrared. So awesome. Yeah, I mean, freaking 65 lumens is just laughable. Like an hour battery life. Compare that to something like the Odin. What's the Odin at now? Let me see. I know I have it somewhere. So what, 8 hours max runtime? 8 hours. I mean, the Olight says their weapon light approximation. 300 meters. 2,000 lumens now. Are you kidding me? 5,000 milliamp, 21,700 rechargeable. Just saying, man, they've come a long way. So I can't fault you for wanting to start swapping around. Some interesting, though, you might see some of the newer, funkier brands around. I'm kind of tempted to try it out. And next up on my project list is actually bringing these up to the modern era. I know it's cool having a clone accurate P60, and in about 50 years, people go, yeah, he's got the original lamp in it and everything. Just like guys anal retentively look for the original authentic parts from the Global War on Terror for their clone builds. But I'm kind of, let's do it the right way and get a Malkoff this time. So, interesting catch-up. We'll see if there's anything more to talk about. I don't think I got nothing. Well, I have some. I was going to do a plane review of my favorite little GA plane, and the dude sold it a while back. So, I'm not... Is that allowed? Can I do a plane review if I don't have the plane? I just feel like that's kind of chintzy, sitting there and going, well, here's a bunch of pictures that other people have taken of it, and mine, and a voiceover about how much I loved it. And I can't show it to you anymore because it disappeared. Oh, that's too bad. Anyways. All right, cool. That was way longer than I expected. I bet you I repeated myself a bunch. All right, see you around.